Hi, everyone. Welcome to Family Matters. We are so excited that you're joining us today. We are joined by a special guest. Her name is Dr. Susan Printy, and Susan also happens to be my mom. So we are so happy to share this special family edition of Family Matters. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
So before we dive into our topic today, the topic of learning practical tips and strategies to prepare for a successful retirement, share a little bit with the families listening in about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a mom of three. Abby has two older brothers. So, and she's my baby, right? No, anything but now. She's wonderful. Um, so I have been an educator my whole life. I was first a high school English teacher and did that for half of my career. And then I decided to invest in myself and I got my PhD and I became a professor at Michigan State University for the second half of my career. I was fortunate to teach wonderful graduate students in the College of Education and help prepare them to be school administrators or to extend their practice with achieving their own doctorates. A great career, just wonderful. I retired officially at the age of 67 from Michigan State, but I was able to continue to work with the department for 2 more years. So that meant teaching more classes, working with my graduate students, conducting research, writing articles, etc. But I just didn't have to go to all the meetings. That was really nice. So I was finished then at 69, and that's the way that happened.
Okay, so I'd like to discuss with you the topic of retirement. Thank you for sharing. It was a kind of a gradual retirement, and I know that you're fully retired now, even though I'm sure you could be talked into certain things. But currently, the average age of retirement is 64 for men and 62 for women. And the average life expectancy in the United States is the age of 79. So that leaves a good chunk of time later on in individuals' lives that the older adult spends in retirement. So you retired at 69 and your retirement was a slow transition rather than being more abrupt. Did you find that that was beneficial, or for you it just worked? Was it planned that way, or was it more just that's how
Yeah,
it just
it's really
naturally
pretty
evolved?
much it's really pretty much the norm for university or college professors, um, particularly if they do consulting or they're involved in research projects and teaching classes. Not having the administrative load is the big thing that is gone, and that's lovely, quite honestly. So. Um, yeah, you have former graduate students who say, "Oh, I'm doing this research and I really need you to help. I really need you to be on my writing team. I really need you, Yes, sometimes that continues. And of course, journals always want you to continue to review articles. So that's a way of keeping your hand in this particular profession. But I'm fully retired, fully retired. The transition, my husband would say one day she went to work and the next day she came home, she was retired, and that was
That's
it.
it.
Yeah. So I guess it was easy. I have to say though, the first thing I did was binge the whole thing of Game of Thrones. And then I decided what was I going to do next?
Yes, you did. You had a little fun first. So, did you have a general plan or initial goals for retirement other than Game of Thrones? Not just financially, but physically, mentally, creatively. How has that plan, um, how has it changed or how has it been modified over time? Those initial goals to where you are now.
Right. Well, some of it I actually began while I was still in that transition period. So two things were very important to me. The first was I was interested in becoming a watercolor artist. And so I found a painting workshop to join. Now, these were not all watercolor painters, they were painters of all different medium. And there was a lady who coordinated it, and she was a teacher. So she gave you some guidance, but you didn't have lessons per se that everybody paid attention to. Mostly it was just a place to go and paint. And it was lovely. It was lovely inspiration for me. The second thing I needed was a new social group because I just had worked all the time. And so my friends were still working and wouldn't have much time for me. So I found a women's walking group, Chick Chain. And so I got new friends by walking. Walking every day. We'd walk, we'd go here, we'd go there, we'd walk. And that was already kind of established and continued for a while. And then COVID hit and changed a lot of things, including, much of that interaction that I had set up. So, we did as much as we could on Zoom to maintain partnerships and whatever. I think it was probably, one more thing, I guess. I also joined a book club. That was able to keep going while we were in COVID. And to some extent, you could do some walking. You just had to stay farther apart. So we did that. During that COVID period, though, was when my husband said, I think this is time for us to make a change. And that's when we talked about moving. So a lot went into that decision about where to move. We also had a house with a big yard, and it was on a slopey hill, and so there were a lot of challenges with maintaining where we were living. So we knew we had to move. Where were we going to go? And Richard was the one who said, we've got to move by some of your kids, and especially Columbus area would be good because that's where all of your younger grandchildren are. And you could be more involved in their lives. And I said, okay, let's see what we can do. So it took us about 6 months considering things after that decision to make a decision about, yes, we were going to move to Columbus. Yes, we had an idea where we wanted to live to be close to Abby and her brother and, the 5 grandsons that live down here. And what we could afford, what worked for us, financially, transportation wise, all of that. And we ended up buying a nice house in a nice neighborhood. And it's been great.
And I see your life now. I'm so impressed with the list of activities and the social calendar. So I'd like you to talk about a little bit about your community and why you chose that community. But you've really learned to incorporate many aspects of brain health, a great combination of physical exercise, physical activity, learning new things, keeping your mind actively engaged, engaging in meaningful social activities. The list goes on. And again, these are all very important aspects of living a brain healthy lifestyle. Is there any one component over the other that you find more valuable than the others? And also I'd like you to talk a little bit about your community in general and what that means in terms of, maintaining a busy lifestyle in retirement.
Okay. So there's a lot there. Just cue me in if I've missed something that you think is important.
Okay.
So we moved into a really nice neighborhood. It's small. There are only 61 homes in our neighborhood. And I liked the smallness of it. I knew that it was a relatively new neighborhood. They were still building new homes, but some people had lived there a few years. Excuse me. And that meant that there was a homeowners group that was, kind of established and formed. And part of that was a social committee that was established and formed. When we just drove around the neighborhood looking, there'd be people out walking and everybody waved and everybody stopped. And even though we had to maintain 6 feet, whatever, of distance, people would approach you and just be very, very pleasant. So that all was great. It's not an over 55 neighborhood per se. We do have some families with children, and that's kind of nice to have some young folks around. But most of the people are, if not retired, they're still working, but they were in their 50s. So we figured we'd find some friends, and indeed we have found many, many friends. I have more girlfriends now than I have since college, so it's all good. It's wonderful.
What kind of activities is the social committee? What do they put on?
Yeah, lots of social organization, and we have a nice clubhouse with a nice room for meeting. And so we would have potlucks all the time, or it might be a food truck coming in that's arranged, and you come and you sit around and you share your food, and it's just a lot of fun. Holiday parties, special kind of events, like we've talked about you coming and talking about brain health. That would be an example of what we do. Or we have CPR training or different things like that. We have lots of events. I took yoga for the first time here because we had a lady who came and she would teach classes in one of our large rooms. And so that's been great. Unfortunately, she's cut down on her schedule, so I'm not getting as much yoga, but I still am participating in yoga. As the community ages a little bit, we've modified one of the days she comes to be chair yoga. And she's such a good teacher that she figures out how to make that as challenging for those of us who, prefer the regular kind of studio kind of yoga. But anyway, that's great. That's really been wonderful. We play, there's euchre tournaments once a month. There's bingo once a month. There's book club once a month. There's mahjong once a week.
Your art clubs. You have art clubs.
Yes. We have an art group. We have a swimming pool in the summer with water aerobics 3 times a week. So, there's lots and lots to do. Now, you mentioned art club. That was not in existence when I came, but I was yearning to duplicate the kind of painting experience I had in Michigan before I moved and just find people to paint with. That was my intention. Well, I found maybe 1 or 2 people who were willing to come and paint, but most people wanted a varied experience. Let's do something this month. Let's do something next month. Let's do something the following month. And I said, okay, fine. We're going to have a creative art group, and I don't know where it's going to go, but let's just start. So one of the first things we did was made concrete planters for outside, big trough-shaped or bowl-shaped concrete planters. Somebody in the community had done it once before. I said, good, you're in charge. Let's go. Let's make something. We make ornaments for the Christmas tree. We made quilted coasters. We've made, I'm just all kinds of things. I can't even go on the list, but my job is to find 3 or 4 of those events and make something. Oh, we also do things in the summer for the grandkids. So one of the big hits was we made fairy houses for their gardens and covered them with stones and moss and sticks and whatever. And your kids participated and they had a ball.
So I want to touch on this subject a little bit because, as we talk with people in their retirement, some people want to make the most of it and do as much as they can, fit in as much as they can, really embrace those hobbies. Some just really want to enjoy retirement, and that's okay too. Or some say, well, I don't have the options to do this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, you valued art. You valued participating in art and actively doing art, especially with others. And so you took it upon yourself to say, hey, I'm going to start an art group. And this call, I really want to talk about some of those strategies. And this is a big one. If you are a retired individual, or if you have a family member who's a retired individual and you have a hobby that you really want to share with others, start a group.
I think it's especially great to say, keep teaching people.
Yeah.
Keep sharing what you can do with others. It might be baking, it might be making bread. We have a fellow in the neighborhood who makes bread, and so that's on my goal for the winter is to have him figure out how he can teach us to make his wonderful sourdough bread.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get an idea of somebody, even, in this, you don't have to be moving to a new community. You might be in your same neighborhood and you already have established friends. Wonderful. If you don't have established friends, knock on that door next door, meet that person, and now you've got two,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah,
know, that's
exactly.
that's I think what it takes is go out of your house and connect with somebody, and that can launch lots of things happening.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, but you have
So,
to be willing to do that. And my husband decided that the men in the neighborhood had to have some kind of gathering to come to that wasn't sports focused, um, card playing focused, gambling focused. He wanted to get to know a set of people in the neighborhood, people who are interested. So he started Romeo. That means really old men eating out, or maybe retired old men eating out. Anyway, they go to Bob Evans every other week for breakfast. And usually 16, 17 people show up. Sometimes at holiday season, it's down to 5. Nevertheless, they have gotten to know each other. When it started, he said, we're not just going to sit here and talk in our small groups. We're going to answer a question. And he would pose a question that would spark a memory and get them talking about their youth, their family, um, their early years as an adult, travels they've taken. What are been your best trips? Whatever. And it's been wonderful. They over a period of 2 years have really formed a wonderful activity.
that's a great example of engaging in meaningful social activities, which is a huge component of living a brain healthy lifestyle to help with longevity of your life and creating those meaningful social engagements. It's beyond just, going to breakfast. It's having a conversation and connecting with another individual. Even if the families listening in, if you could improve on one thing, it's, this is finding others to connect with meaningfully, asking questions about their past and relating those experiences with others. This is something now I know that you've mentioned that these gentlemen, and I've talked to a few of those gentlemen, they look forward to it. This gives them something to get up every day. Okay, I need to get moving so I can go to my Romeo breakfast. I'm going to think about my next topic of what I want to bring up at my Romeo breakfast. I better do this so I can feel better so I can go to my Romeo breakfast. So
Yeah.
just this one activity can mean so much. And this is just another example, another great tip and strategy for a healthy aging and brain healthy lifestyle. That's great. Um, I want to just talk about one other thing, and that is I'd like you to share a little bit about your forethought of your home now and how you decided to build it.
Mhm. This was one of the reasons that attracted us to this neighborhood in particular. We have a 1 floor home. We have 2 bedrooms, a den, two
There's
full bathrooms,
no steps to enter
no
either.
steps, not a lot of walls. I mean, we have a wide open home. We did want extra wide hallways and extra wide doors, especially back in the bedroom and into the bathroom. We have a ramp built in the garage, so you come right up into the house. The front the front walk is angled to come right up into the house too. That's so easy entry. Um, we don't have we have a shower room instead of a shower stall, and so we could just wheel a wheelchair in there if we need. Um, it was only recently we put up grab bars everywhere in our bathrooms because my husband was having some mobility issues. And I'm really thankful that we've been able to find a home that enables us to move easily. And for those people who aren't moving, see about adjusting your current situation. But I'm glad we moved because of the ease with which we can move around.
Right. It's a really smart decision to think about as you age so you can stay in your home as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As we wrap up, I just want to see if you have any final recommendations for those individuals that are currently retired or have been retired and really struggling to find a balance. You've done a really great job of embracing your retirement and doing all the things. So share any final recommendations that you may
Well,
have.
a couple of things. I think your physical health is really important. So you need to pay attention to all the regular routine and all of that, but you need to go beyond. So we got a dog when we came here, and so we walk a lot. That's a big part of my exercise routine, but I didn't feel it was sufficient, even along with the yoga, not sufficient. And so we started going to the Y and pumping some iron, using those machines and getting various parts of our body working. That's really important. And I have to say, I feel better. My husband feels better when we're working out. So that's one thing. The other thing is the importance of social support. Now, I have a lot of friends, but it goes beyond just being nice. How are you? And, playing a game with them. It's really caring about them. We feel cared for and we care for others. When people are ill, at a snap of a finger, there are people to drive you places, to take food to you, etc. And right now I'm on the giving end of all of that, but I know should I need it, I'm going to be on the receiving end. It's marvelous, but it takes that initial effort to care about, to visit, to see them, to walk and talk with them. I have a lady across the corner. Her husband passed away not too long ago. I keep knocking on her door. She has started inviting me in for tea. We have nice conversations, and come spring, I'm hoping she's going to get out on the walking paths with me. That is so important, to reach out to others, because if they don't know you, they won't reach out to you when you're in need. So that social support is so important.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Well, this was really great. Thank you for sharing your experiences. You've done it well. I'm proud of you for your retirement, and thank you for sharing. And thank you for joining us, everyone. Stay tuned for our next Family Matters episode.
Anytime I can help, Abby. Goodbye.